Well, there's really three goals that I've set. One is to get projects built that make a difference in the lives of Canadians. We know here in Toronto how important public transit is. Hear a lot of people saying we can do a lot better. Second thing is the economic piece. There's a huge economic opportunity and jobs opportunity. Also, we need to be leveraging the private sector. I worked on Bay Street, and I think there's a huge opportunity there. I did an event with Mark Carney in 2016, and he was talking about the trillions that we need for infrastructure, public infrastructure, in particular relating to climate change. And so we need to figure out how we're going to finance that. And the third thing is climate change. So when you think about climate change, it's a huge risk to our infrastructure. I think there's an announcement maybe today by the Ontario government about erosion in Lake Erie and the impacts it's having. Everything is exacerbated by climate change, but we also have a huge opportunity. We can build better. We can build cleaner, healthier cities with better public transit, with net zero buildings. So huge opportunity there too.
So a lot to unpack there. Obviously, when we've talked to people, and this Liberal government from the get-go talked a lot about infrastructure projects to help fuel the economy longer term. We've had a lot of economists, industry players over the last few years that said, we've seen some action. We would have thought by this point we would have seen more. Have you felt like it has taken some time to get some of these projects off the ground?
Well, I mean, first of all, let's start with our economic record. We have the lowest unemployment rate in 4 decades, fastest, growth in the G7. So we have a strong economic record, and infrastructure is absolutely part of that. The infrastructure investment supports 100,000 jobs or more, and yeah, I mean, absolutely, we need to get more projects going, and that's our opportunity. But we've done a lot of projects have happened. You have to plan for some of these projects, and we came in with a historic investment in infrastructure that really is already improving lives of Canadians, but there's more to do.
So when you're having these conversations in different provinces around the country, what are some of the challenges? I think sometimes it's one thing to talk about the projects. It's the next step of the federal government having these conversations, whether it's with provincial leaders or municipal leaders, about getting things to the next level. What's the biggest challenge in all of that?
Well, I want to frame it as an opportunity. I mean, look, levels or orders of government need to work together. When I talk to Canadians, they don't say, oh, the province needs to do this, the city needs to do this, the federal government. They just say, build better infrastructure, build better public transit, deal with the affordable housing crisis, make sure everyone has access to high-speed internet. And so the opportunity is for different levels of government, politicians, to realize that we serve Canadians and we need to get good things built that improve lives. And so I hit the ground running. I had a call already last week with John Tory, with Carolyn Mulrooney. I'm meeting with them today, and it's really, okay, let's get this done. Let's move forward. There's some really big opportunities, and I've been really pleased to see the progress between the City of Toronto and the Province of Ontario, and we're a willing partner. We've allocated money to Ontario, almost $5 billion, so now I think we got to get started.
We had an interesting development in recent days with that CN rail strike, which I think reminded a lot of Canadians how reliant we are on some of the key players in transportation to move things across the country. Did that sort of create an opportunity for you to spark any new ideas on the way we approach moving things around the country?
Well, to be honest, I've only been in the job for a week, but I will say, I mean, making sure that we resolved that strike was important, and I think it was a reminder to everyone how important infrastructure is to our economy, because that was having a huge impact rippling across the economy. So we have an opportunity to get things built that grow the economy. You talk about the Gordie Howe Bridge. That's a huge opportunity. How do we get goods across the border? How do we get people across the border? But big public transit projects, also really good. And even, as I get briefed, high-speed internet, it means people can live in different communities. They don't have to move, that they have access. I met a woman from the Arctic. She wanted to sell sealskin products on the internet on Etsy, but she couldn't get high-speed internet. So these are all opportunities to grow the economy, to have social outcomes, to make lives better for people. And also, as I say, we need to be tackling climate change, and we have an opportunity to build better, to get people around better in ways that are cleaner.
Let's dig deeper into that point, this idea of taking your learnings from the environment portfolio and bringing them to infrastructure. I mean, in an ideal world, what are the kinds of green or clean, however you want to describe it, infrastructure projects that you would see built?
Well, they're across the board. We're lucky now we have new technologies. Artificial intelligence is in big data hugely important. When we build now, we can be much smarter about how we build and how we use energy. It also, I always talk about this, it saves folks money. It's also cleaner. It also helps meet our climate goals. How people get around, get people out of cars, which is better. I mean, you can get home faster if you build better public transit, which is spending more time. I have 3 kids. I mean, who doesn't want to spend more time with their kids? So being smarter about public transit, affordable housing, great examples of net zero housing builds. So that just saves folks money. A unit in Ottawa of a net zero build, a Salis housing build, is 12.
I'm sorry, I can't tolerate any more from that woman. Good evening to you, YouTube. I'm just taking notes while she's talking, but essentially I came up with, it's almost impossible to watch her talk for an extended period of time without laughing at her. So she was talking about just a moment ago there about artificial intelligence and how we can use that for helping the environment. Okay. She's kind of mum about how artificial intelligence will help us in the environment. The other thing I wanted to bring up was that she plans to... Her and Nenshi seem to be very much aligned. We have a problem with that in this city where high-density housing projects are going up like crazy, but there's mass vacancy within the city of Calgary because of the loss of business. She intends to build tons of public transit, affordable homes, get people out of their cars. To be honest, I think it's very irresponsible and insane, actually, to let this woman continue in any post. She seems to be extremely narrow-minded, badly educated. How she could even think or correlate artificial intelligence, given what... It's ludicrous. Like, what are you talking about? And then in addition to that, it's like she can't stop talking about climate change in every single sentence that she makes. And it seems that in her view, public transit should take precedence above common driving, let's say. Eliminate, get people out of their cars. Really, that scares me. Her factoid about the lowest unemployment in the history of Canada, that's an absolute lie. Infrastructure and Communities Minister is just not an appropriate role for her. Nothing is an appropriate portfolio for her to hold except maybe backbencher. Because as I understand it, as she's talking here, this woman does not deserve to have any post with responsibility. It's very plain and clear. I'm just going to open up the conversation one more time so that you may listen.
Is the provinces and the cities, and then of course there's going to be different players. But as I say, just been in this job 1 week and hit the ground running, meeting with folks. I had a chance to meet with a whole bunch of mayors yesterday at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. And I'm just really excited about this file. The reality is this is where the rubber hits the road. I mean, where people can actually see real, tangible differences in people's lives. Better public transit, more affordable housing, renewable energy, high-speed internet. That is good for people. It's good for our communities. It's good for our cities. It's good for our economy.
All right.
So, again, another one of her silly correlations, which has nothing to do with anything. High-speed internet. Great. You're the Infrastructure and Communities Minister, and you want to make great high-speed internet. Wonderful. The world can't get enough of the internet. Okay, fine. Why is that a priority for you? I wonder. It just, to me, her priorities are completely out of whack and out of touch with what Canada needs at this moment. They're already talking about throwing $5 billion in investment up to Ontario. Oh, and in addition, she wants to use high-speed internet so a friend of hers in the north can sell sealskin products on Etsy. Sealskin, eh? So you love the environment, but you condone the harming and selling of animal parts. And the hunting and harming of animals. That's a contradiction for sure. In short, many people talk about Catherine Mckenna, but this is actually the first time I've seen her speak publicly on BNN Bloomberg. And I have to say, I'm not impressed. How can this person be so badly educated and still have a seat in the House of Commons? How could she be re-elected is the question I'm asking. This individual seems to be very, very out of touch with reality, and she's also very out of touch with basic human needs, I would say. You talk a good game about, internet. You don't even talk a good game. She's just throwing out concepts that makes no sense. All of these things you're talking about, high-density housing, public transit, and high-speed internet. I mean, for God's sake, it's like it's like a juvenile inherited her portfolio and acts in her place absent proper education and proper analysis of what's needed, what's required of her portfolio. Essentially, what I hoped would take precedence is that she would be trying at least... Nah, that's a silly hope. I was hoping that they were going to at least cut the budget a little bit and talk about figures, what can we save on this. What I see here is that she's still in her environmental minister's hat. So what she'll do is she'll make things intolerable for traffic, essentially. Anybody who drives a car in favor of her radical environmentalist perspective. I encourage my viewers to catch on to this. It's actually, it's horrible. The climate change religion has radicalized so many people, but I mean especially simpletons like her. If she wants to do what she's claiming, then I encourage her to put her money where her mouth is and take her house off of any kind of petroleum, let's call it heating. So take away natural gas and take away fuel so she cannot travel here. Like, take away any petroleum products she uses. It's absolutely, if enacted, a complete contradiction to our way of life. I can't say it any simpler than that. And it will destroy our way of life if implemented. But this person is clearly not... I was reading the YouTube comments, and I mean, it has overwhelming negativity, this video on Bloomberg, probably because of her comments. But essentially, watching it just makes me sick to my stomach that she could hold a portfolio for a minister's position. She's not properly educated and knowledgeable enough. This is a narrow-minded ideological view that has no space for improvement or enlightenment. So I thank you for your time. This to me has been most insightful into Mckenna's character and what she prioritizes. So thank you for your time. Bye-bye.